Rolla Benji Sanjian Drubra, Sanjay Chudan, Soju Chunamda, Chanchu, Mando, Dane, Soji. Dagi Jinso, give us on Namdi and Rolla Benji Sanjian Drubra. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through merit and practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood for all the sentient beings. 동년이 주승도 주변 주제 선생 관심 대중은 저는 너무 대전여서는 소원대서 현존으로 주 ramjamsungro 답임에 계속 탑을 주변 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 답변 저거 신지 신년 남나 차제 라수 당한조 계산 되다. 자다 조금 113 verse number. Did it what? Now, the 계산 디 먼저 자다 중립이 상당히나 현저지. 야의 중립이 나로라야 대지 심정신단이 기회形式 특별성 제 롱기 줍시지. 선제 중된 되기 아니 더 나로라 더디에다 melom number tabel 도르시 제든지 두 melom number tabel 도다 엔틸 라서 도망 외값소 아니 가르송샤 슬라나 아니 얘기 말 심진기 신다 아니 산지기 신 라텐지 나 다당아 아니 산지 세니의 차버를 세지 오도시제 싱싱셰바네 초사사기 신 얘기 주부 관의 총성서나 초 들리는 총성 초디 가릴 때는 총성서나 초 삭세기 신 심전의 상질 때는 총성 시제네 양의 양도 그 순구여의 인자 어디기 저야 롱기 줍지 상질이 된데 송샤세지
Rimshi kari milam number tapil do sembe Rimshi milam
number tapil
milam number tapil. So in the verse we are going to begin from verse 113, but just to go back to verse 112 and particularly the first two lines of 112, where it talks about I'll read it just quickly for memory. Therefore, the Mighty One has said that the field of sentient beings is similar to a Buddha field. And so in the pure, because of the Sutra of the Pure, the Sutra of the Pure Dreams, and other sutras, there are quotes which talk about the, so these first two lines are based on the kind of, the equality of the sentient beings and the Buddhas as being equally a field of merit or a field of reverence for the on the basis of which we can attain enlightenment and the kind of equality of the equality of that. And this first part is to back that up with through scriptural citation. And so what it is saying here is that the when we talk in order to accumulate merit, we need a field or a kind of a field in which on the kind of basis on which that merit is accumulated, and so what it's saying here is that on the basis of that field, the merit is accumulated, cultivated, and then on the basis of that merit, we're able to attain the completely enlightened state of Buddhahood. And so in this, what it's saying here, these scriptural quotes, which are brought in this particular section, are talking about how the sentient beings and the Buddhas are equal in being a field of merit for the field for the accumulation of merit to attain enlightenment.
알았어. 다 다 디오디 단다 디다 규제 망부시 디대로 편조 파루친 세트 다디 리베드로 인스 다디 아주 개치셔들이셔 디 리베기 두단도 도즈 삼담이나 아니 두측 나눠도 제비나 아니 지게 가서 그래 상계의 심전에 따라 그지 아니 상계의 심전이야 아니 상계의 신의 때는 수놈사 심전기 신의 때는 아니 초 사버 제발 때는 아니 상계 장매가 전부로 와 세순도시 디 책일 때는 들려줍지도 당 알아서 개체슈디 리버드비디 아니 디점시 거와 많이 봐 디간 레베데 주위나 아니 알아서 산지디다 산지디 고반토베 산지디 고반토베데 딱 고반하는 초도 그래 안디 고반디 아니 그뒤니 다 지게 들어와 가서 그래 어제도 나는 그 중간으로네 더 구시 등이 시제니 송구도가 다 도초나로네 아니 탑시 예매 토네 탑시 예매세면 탑시 송주 토네 송제 송도 제 토네 아니 두고레스 시제 송구요 아니 셰럽 장배기 다 돌되네 마 슈베이나 셰럽 장배기 아니 산지지 고만 톱토로 배 디톱토 말이스 탑고 그레스 그 뒤에 송대가 아저라 단지 인도 잠배다 섬르스 단체 오란제부터 랑된 용수 랑된的 신된 시제 송문은 랑된 용수 조과의 가지레스나 아니 추구원도 체드레스 디직제 다 신된 용수 조당 가지레스 두점배 아니 수구두고 그레스 남준이 당아란주 뜻부제 디르바다 산지디 고방 세트 디니 삼당 요래 다디 삼로 당원도 점배 이 아니 아란주 삼로 나로야 아란주부터 산제다 전주선바 파베 강사래야 야르 산제기 신감의 때문도 점배 더 좋은 거된들이 고람기도 최고조디 톱나 삼제네 아란주기다 덤바드리 아니 최리 인긴dun의 지구를 제거해 좀 센티래 다 너가지기 아니 잡을 때 소수기 냠len치 곰잡 너가지기 아니 제베는 랑된 조토르베 슬라나 디 조토고 매버데 산지기 송어 점모인 거 당하는 줄이 비트디고로 남지 디 두고 말이스 가르쳐서나 아니 탑 chanju 생 보도스 랑된 용소 조발한 chanju 생 보도스 오늘 전에 띵아란주 삼로 나로라 미 소소 야고 차야라 셴라라 레버 튜니 시그마로 봐 지조라 남바 상제바다 타와도 태와 신비기 나로라 랑된 용소 조발라 아니 셴의 땡고도스 셴라 마덴바를 연구만 chanju 생 보도 di indu tambe rangdön yongso zoba yang ani kapsule simjingi tön ruba ji samlo mebi na rangdön zo tukmare se de ajuda ribu rubje chesho direta dinge ji duna
Oh, rimshi di chikdua di kaza gedin sang kaza contra ni get kaza chu contra digi kaza de gokden se digi deni di chi se kare di kaza de sangi dan janju sembatan papi gansa din sugi kagi nanzu konsul gap shabi ina gap konsul gap su dubi ina di chipu digi du togo mendu segimbe
konsul yar sanji gi shin la deni golang gu dubi chu konjo golang gu dubi chu konjo dubi chire 다 더거드 지기 아니 가서 산지지 고만 두투르선 두투면 도와 가진스나 심진기 신들의 댄치 장주 셈들 이발도 고도와
아야
제가 수구티
예
가지 어디 해버렸어 가진 산지 그 고만 두발라 니념도 조고야 돼 갖두이는 삼 땅도 같이 보도와
탑셔는 and so in the second the last two lines of verse 112, where it says in the translation, for many who have pleased them have thereby reached perfection. And so here, this is the section which deals with talking about how both Buddhas, talking about both the Buddhas and the sentient beings are equal and necessary in providing a field in which to kind of grow or accumulate the merit in order to attain enlightenment. So this really is more important in one sense than the kind of scriptural citation. So we have to look at the kind of flow of the reasoning that is going on here. So if we just look straight at the verse, it would seem like it says the Mighty One has said that the field of sentient beings is similar to the Buddha field. For many who have pleased them have thereby reached perfection. So it feels like many, kind of countless Buddhas have gone in the past by relying on both the sentient beings and the Buddha as a field of merit. So if you just look at it just like that, it doesn't it's not very impactful. What we need is a little bit more kind of a kind of deeper philosophical analysis of that. And so if we think about Buddhahood, then Buddhahood is, the highest state of the highest kind of achievable state of a person. And in the tantric texts, it talks specifically about the state of Buddhahood as being the very embodiment of the four kayas, or the four bodies of the Buddha. And then when it talks about the path in order to achieve that embodiment of the Buddhahood state of the embodiment of the four kayas, it talks about the union of method and wisdom, and how both are required. So if we were to summarize that and to ask whether if it was possible to attain enlightenment only based on the kind of wisdom side of practice, then the answer would be no, that you have to have this kind of mutually supporting method and wisdom side. And this is discussed frequently in the text. And so, and it talks about, if we think of it from the side of the kind of completion of our own welfare or concern, then in terms of the kayas of the Buddha, we would think about that as being the manifestation of the Dharma kaya. And then for the side of the in concern for others, then that would be the achievement of the form body of the Buddha. And so this is for the fully enlightened Buddha's state. If we were just to sort of think more in terms of the achievement of, say, within the Four Noble Truths, the truth, within the Dharma refuge, thinking of the three refuges, and then the Dharma refuge, and within that the truth of cessation being the kind of the kind of actual refuge in some sense, then also we still have to, if you were to say, is that, just good enough, that focusing on that, taking refuge in that, or taking refuge in the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the Arya beings, like the refuge of the Sangha, are these things good enough for us to be able to attain complete enlightenment? And the answer to that is no. You still have to require this method side of the path. We still have to cultivate in order to complete one's own welfare and concern. You have to practice cultivate concern for others. In regular society, people will think that you don't really need to get along in society or to be successful. You don't really need to necessarily really kind of too much relate to or rely on others. That's how we think. But in the Buddhist, in this Buddhist tradition, in order to complete our own concerns and welfare, we need others. We need to, without the concern for others, without others and concern for others, then there's no way for us to complete our own concerns, and therefore there's no way to achieve the highest state. So there's always this emphasis on cultivating bringing together the unification of the method side and the wisdom side. And so in our meditation, that's how we have to, we always have to, this is sort of, taking these verses into a kind of deeper level in terms of the reasoning which supports the fact that the sentient beings and the Buddhas are equal.
And Lava Dong around the end of the Kidas, Shimizu in Koranzo round drop the Giore. That round in the Lishibuor, Tandeng and Joe round in said the Mambuchi, round in Mambuchi, do some town, the Dilia, Kentachi. Pena Chanju Samba Zogi, Yendo the Rangigi round in the Lake Kentagiore. Chazanga, Anjo Dirva Casore. Rangdun to Shiva Chochibus Dil Gyantati Yorba. Chazang Yendo the Randezo, Ne Rangdun to Shiva Jamber, Shiva Chochibul, some down to Duzembe, dear Gyris. Chazanga Rangdun Yijig Samba said, somebody Gynt the Worba. Chazanga Manjo, did you some other Gyntatochi? Penang around Sedigi, Gibusung Yamenchi Nichina. And give you some down and get the Gupa. And give Chimbu and give Jingis some down and get the Gupa. What did you the Tamatuna? And so some down at the letter Taran Dixon Sage. Or ding a pardon around Jugi, Sanji Chu Dukin, and Sanjel Taba using it in Yavardo. And Rangdun, near Rangdun Che say Rangdun did Karimba said, Yang and sometime case Malaysia.
And so in terms of when we talk about Taya has a question.
Yeah. Tia unmute. That the Tia the part in this sure, those sure. Tia Sonda. Godo. Chanju Samba Zogi Yendo da Range Zole Gyan Karesana Rangi Tuen de Kadu Zoson. Nata Rangdun Yonsu Zos Samadanya de Liberation Tarbazam Jutona Shiva Jangba Sedra, Shiva Jangba. 어디 딕송 어디 쩐다고요.
When we talk about, the self concern of our own personal concerns, or our own thoughts for our own personal welfare, then you can, in a general sense, this can be divided up into many sort of different kinds. In the world, most people operate from a kind of out of concern for their individual, for their own individual means. If we bodhisattvas have their own concerns, so to speak, so do the Buddhas. They practiced partly for their own concerns in some sense. Dogs and cats, all different kinds of creatures, all of them have certain have their own concerns, but it's the measure or the depth of these concerns for oneself that have to be looked at very carefully. So in terms of when and what the sort of Mahayana tradition does is to look very much down on a strong overemphasis on attaining, completing one's own selfish concerns. And so, for instance, the bodhisattvas look down on even the Arya hearers and the Arya solitary realizers because of this sense of a kind of over focus on selfish concern, which kind of manifests in the sense that if the Arya hearers and solitary realizers will kind of think to themselves, once they've attained a sort of moksha, the kind of liberation, the state of kind of mere personal peace, that's enough. We're kind of they're kind of satisfied. And so the bodhisattvas look, that personal peace is looked down on as being too much involved with one's own welfare, and so one's own sort of concerns and wishes. And so and even when you go up through the three scopes of the different scopes of being, then even the lower scope of being will look down on those who have concerns purely for this life, and so on up through the different scopes as they so our scope kind of looks vaster, or kind of from a higher perspective as you go up, and essentially what it is you are, into some sense, looking down. You're seeing the faults of something else, and that's actually a good thing. It's something which helps us to sort of develop to see in ourselves. So if you're if you're someone who has faith in the Buddhist teachings, if you're someone who considers themselves to be a Buddhist practitioner, then we have to take a really close look at what are we personally defining as our set of our kind of we may be saying that I'm practicing I'm practicing for these things partly for my own welfare, but we have to look at what is it that we are defining as our own concerns and welfare, and what is the kind of measure or limit of that. This is very important to look inside of ourselves and check.
Let's look at the verse number 113. Okay. Yeah, 113, please.
And Buddhist qualities are gained from the sentient beings and the conquerors alike. So why do I not respect them in the same way as I respect the conquerors?
어디래? 또 거대부터가 가제 상계 개침부 임바디 아니 상계 때니 말하는 상계주 코반도 두두 좀센티 임비나 아니 심진 때니 심전을 때네 양색으로 심전을 때네 양 아니 산지주 고만 두고 요버도 수수 켈렌 차버려 켈렌도 아니 산지를 그버체고에 좀 전에 산지주 고만 두고도 라바디 좀전 따가이나 아니 산지주 고만 제 투긴기 아니 규직이나 수수 자침부 지고도 디지버데 수수기 라바는 힘문에 임비나 아니 심전 라양 쿠버체 과타 스타타스다 소모트리 심전 라양 쿠버체 과타 심전 라데네 아니 산지주 코만테르비 지스 따따 따서던 거 봐. 지금도 차장 지금 된 거 봐. 다딩 아주 꼬르게고요 말이야. 다딩 아주 전에 남셔전도 산지레스 접시 대버체 심전스도 삼고는 거 말이야. 어떻게 금진 두고를 잡지. 다가랑 되셨어. 좋는 게 와. 다디 심전람이 지추세 그 측디 고아들람상 간지 고요를 지난주 인지디 줄디나로 따다 고요는 아주 벽에 그 측디난 가르고 오면서 디수 룩스레스라 어디 야고도 와 지추세도 가르 룩스레스라 다디 산젤 때네 산젤 때네 산제주 고반 두고도스 아니 심전 때네 산제주 고반 두고 열데 아니 심전 아니가 지고메 제제 좀전 총구민도 슬라베나 디 가리 룩스레스 디 가리 삼당당레 수 삼당당레스
And so moving on to verse number 113, and so this is, you know, quite easy. It's quite a direct verse. It's quite easy to understand, and you know, first of all, there's this for most people. There's in the Buddhist tradition, there's this acceptance that the Buddha is worthy of sort of, you know, respect and reverence, and as a field in which to attain, you know, to plant, you know, cultivate merit to attain enlightenment, you know, because they allow us, you know, they sort of help us to achieve Buddhahood, but also then you have to, you know, but then we're also going to have to accept that on the basis of the Buddhas we accept that, but then on the basis of the sentient beings, it's often, you know, in terms of us attaining enlightenment by paying them, having faith in them or respecting them, it's less, or it's less, easy to accept. But if we, so we've accepted it in relation to the Buddhas, we say that the Buddhas are worthy of respect or veneration or our faith in them because they're a cause for leading us to the fully enlightened state. If we accept that, so if we accept that in that reasoning, if we accept that anything which is a cause which helps us to attain the fully enlightened state is worthy of you know, reverence and faith and respect, then we're going to have to accept that on the basis of the sentient beings as well. So, you know, because they are also because in relation to them, it is also true that we are able to that they are a cause for us to attain enlightenment. So we have to accept the sentient beings and the Buddha as being equal in that way. And this is the kind of path. The path of reasoning which we have to sort of go around and sort of convince ourselves of, because it's very easy for us to very quickly sort of put our hands together and have faith in the fact that the Buddha is a cause, you know, we'll attain enlightenment by having faith in them, but we don't really, that doesn't really come up for us in relation to the sentient beings. One thing to say about the verse is the last line in the verse, which in Tibetan says Sentient Lamin Ji Sus, and in the English it says, in the same way as I respect the conquerors. Now I think that this doesn't have quite the same, I don't think the English has quite the same impact as it does. What it's saying, Ji Sul in the Tibetan is like, if you're accepting this reason in you know, accepting this reason in relation to the Buddhas, but you're not able to accept this reason in relation to the sentient beings. Who accepts this? What kind of system is this? What kind of way of accepting things is this? To accept one in relation to the Buddha and not in terms of the sentient beings. So it has a more sort of forceful nature, which is something like what kind of system would this be? Like kind of questioning that system.
올라서 되지. 근데 다 야도 줍시 114 3배 윤대 랑기미 데불레인 대총 바라 셈제나노 윤대여 대제 대단년 바이스 다 윤대 미년바 야나다 상제리야 저기 19 90 최고의 dum세데 상제리 윤대여 장 아주 90 최고요. 다들 알았으면 비상부당 다 알아라다. 다 심지어는 아주 늘 구셔만 셔. 심지어는 이제 상제는 윤대면서 아니 군이 90 최다 최고를 돼요. 90 되려는데 최고의 개발 그거 최고의 스케면도 10지 친구 최고의 누가 스타디 더버디 리그 나스라. 당 아주 예외로 더버디 예외로 안 줄. 근데 겨울은 붙이 델샤체 겨울은 붙이 지구르체서 참 있으리. 아이네 미교우지 난간에 론드니 자가지 경 자가이나 다 수있는 지교우지 미교우지 되는 샤지. 안에 대샤는 콜 지구르스나 겨울은 붙이 지는 신지 지시라는 거 제로 지만 봐. 정보를 봐. 이나양 군일이야 지구에게 연대 냠버딩한 저 통고 그래서 그렇다. 그런 니가로야 연대 지단 지교르스. 직배인지 니 직배인이 삼보당당 직배 차이 지교르스. 겨울무치를 지고야 코란레에 지고야 겨울무치를 유비 연대 나신 코란레에도 시제 지고야지 띵아주 삼도 땅에 버도 거고 그래서 그렇다. 이게 최도 다 대선 거 스 다디 딩이야 114 please.
Of course, of course, they are not similar in the quality of their intentions, but only in the fruits that they produce. So it is in this respect that they have excellent qualities and are therefore said to be equal.
냠바 진 단다 원래 체버치기 상제도 심진지 견된다 연구요 말이대 이내 단다 딜은 냠버 상제도 심진지 견된 냠버세도 저 거진 삼단에 지도 거진 유권에 연구도 세지 봐. 딱 거진 유권에 냠단데 아주 삼단단데 다 삼로지 담배는 니는 아주 카시스 조사를 딜 디커도 되냐 고스 공부시네야 그러나 디오도 심전리야 마란줄리야 상제 유코만 때고 상제 유코만 니콜 상제를 로고치고 삼로드디 꾸룽 선도부디 개 매베이나야 매베이나 안 고치고 말에 지제 라베이나 녜레 타와치 땅요 다 지난주 제유는 딩엘레 디도요세 아니 남상 최군조디 개요한체 아니 원나 최군조레 아니 딘디기 꾸농요 말레스 데네 디도 선배 아니 저런 최군조를 집에 그버셔버디야 되게 말베세 줘 가진스는 꾸농민도가 최군조를 꾸농민도가 다 디나신 디커도양 상제레양 상제레양 꾸농요 말바스 다 아주 삼부터 하나다 상제레양 아주 심진의 편비 꾸농요 말 꾸농도 송버리 네 꾸농요 말 꾸농세디 저 참으레 송바 다디잖아 저 쇼리 리서치 나나야고요 저 참 상제리야 저 참매 시 저디 가르스나 예 심진 그 최고 냠베 아니 꾸농 테스트 레고요나 안 대야 저 차들이요 딘데 저와 연주 선배 고 깔레 소리지 깔레를 양 망부여 봐 지금 지중 대권 깔레 타셔디 니야요 말스 재장강 알아주 얘기 일단 알아주 뭐는 게 거래요 아니 아주 단다 가서 그래 답에 지금 로종기 랍조망 보나로야 아니 아니 다 가서 그래 가서 나 고불로도 진짜면 나로 임비요 재장가 아니 사소 중화 첨보다 아니 지지는 가진 담 뜻가는 몽벌이야 아니 지기 심진기 대연체발라 깔리 주님 해봐 아니 리강기 아니 지기 가서 나 신나 내신지 아니 그걸이야 다큰 수지 매발라 아니 수long 숭위 롱제베이네 말로 데 롱제송 섬섬 삼로 주님 아니 저와 주님 고롱 주님 때먹어요 토네 아니 심진기 대 라버시 또 얘기 뭐럼 듣어도가 요방을 주 겨울음식 양내한도 숨고 봐 아니 지기 서면 등도와 남기가 저 제주시면 뭐럼 주 요바 디아 디나로 요래 배나 알아주 단다 제주시면 뭐럼도 저 나로래야 아니 뭐음벌 심진기 된체가 qablas 그봐 심진기 아니 이신기 누구 세도 전에 신기 봐 어디나 신지 수요 대바디 수요기 들이야 롱제베는 롱제네 다랑 두고 되야지마도 예 콜데스 야치고 콜도어 치고서 되게 고노 주네 매봐 어디지 보고요 어디 얘기 단다 라고에 가려서는 꾸롱 라 마tö베 지고 지냥 산지 심전이야 된제베도 꾸롱로 마tö바 최 권조 대한 꾸롱 매베 있나요 아니 말하는 주 들려야 되니 계산된 도 심전라양 아주리야 팬도 제베 그 선로 매베 있나요 심전 내내 산지 요고반 주투버디 말하는 주 채토고 인자 심전라 아니 거진 두 심전라 연된 가르도 연된디 랍토고 왕라죠 어디 연된 말에 딩아랑 게 삼로당에 계제지레스 그래봐 고연 코란로 연된디 계제 말을 라비나 땅으로 삼로 양 요제당치 연된 독스 가르전스나 다 규드 디빈 남샤티 매나 민중 그때와 매나 민중 그때와 세디 다 코디 매나 말티 용타베 독스 말에 다 디기 컨디스토브스나 아니 말한 저기 산지기 꾸지 제원들 야워런 붙이고 구성 투 제원들 야워런 붙였다베 남자신부 콩 세든지리야 꿀려주네 도스지제 자신부 충분을 배스나 말이 타제도 개와 당매바네 아니 소놈다 이시기 초 사고 텔레데니 야워런 붙이디 충분을 대양 아니 주제마고 토벌 때도 선배 아니 심진 저와 타게 망고 참말을 땐지 아니 산 겨울은 붙이세야 돼 차. 산제세야 돼 차를. 딜라토고 맞아. 띵아지라고 말아야. 랍토고 말아시다. 세상가 돌랑 아주 인들라가 지금 말해. 겨울은 붙이 짜침부 차야 돼. 안술 때는 겨울은 짜침부 차를 난 들도 해. 한 번도 말해. 계속 정보시는 다 하나지. 겨울은 붙이 짜침부 차야 돼. 안술 때는 겨울은 붙이 짜침부 차를. 한 번씩이요 맞다. 뭐 있는지도 어디로 와? 어디 laptop에나 개대 겨울은 붙이기 맞아버지 술을 파샤지. 디마도 심전 탐제 얘기 전식이 있으나 겨울은 붙이 산지 차도로 돼. 야니게 차도. 어디 가서 laptop 세상 매나 민중기다 세디. 나 세상 아니 아주 타진 시도고 몽발랑 아산 띵 땅 하다우지 산제베는 밑에자 아 손도지 산제베나 아산지에디 다든 두 주고주는 티에서를 주는 티에를 때는 아산제 손 시도 게데 티에 술을 샤제 아니 아산 제도선 제투고 말았어 디셰도 어제상가 되다 데 냠냠세티 냠당데 신 아주 냠이야 심박해요 말해 세상에 냠냠세티 간지 상제의 셈진이기 거진 냠부도 없어 냠당데 매는 민중을 잡아 시에들지 모두 신경 집중하다 대체 정부 차서 건다
And so here we're talking about in verse 14. It's talking about how you know, the Buddha, first of all, taking the Buddha and all of the qualities he has, and we're sort of making, you know, sort of comparing the sentient beings and the Buddhas in terms of this ability, you know, our kind of gratitude or respect or faith in them as being equal. And what we, you know, we think of the Buddha as having all of these tremendous qualities, and then we take a look at the sentient, the side of the sentient beings, and then we say, of course, you know, sentient beings have some qualities to them, but in comparison to the tremendous qualities of the Buddha, there's no comparison. And so we tend to sort of very highly, we have a tendency to very highly value the Buddhas, and to not so greatly value the sentient beings. And this is when we have this, it's guaranteed. This is absolutely how we think. And if we invited His Holiness to come, and all of us would, you know, have tremendous faith and respect towards His Holiness, but then if we brought a destitute beggar, or, you know, sort of someone very poor and destitute in terrible condition, and also sort of put them side by side, and then we would, you know, we wouldn't value, we would just sort of in the way we are right now, we wouldn't currently value this destitute person in the way that we would His Holiness, pay respect or reverence. This is sure. This is guaranteed. But what we're talking about here is that we're talking about some form of equality between the sentient beings and the Buddha, between His Holiness and the destitute person, but between sentient beings and the beggar, we're trying to find a sort of equality that is, you know, some kind of equal, a quality which is kind of equal within them, and that's what we're sort of looking for. And so what it sort of comes down to is the sense of a gratitude or kindness that we should have towards both of those. Now, how do we make sense of that? And one of the ways that we'll sort of argue against that is to say, oh, they you know, okay, but the sentient being doesn't have this kind of, generally the sentient beings are certainly not having the motivation to help us. They're not, you know, why should we value them when they don't have that motivating force, for instance, to help us to attain enlightenment? But then the argument which we mentioned in the last class comes, well, what about the jewel of the Dharma? The jewel of the Dharma itself has no kind of motivating, sort of mental motivation in order to help us at all, but we still value it. And even the Buddha has no motivation to help us. And maybe I would like to explain that by sort of, you know, the Buddha did before they became the Buddha, they had this strong motivating force in order to help sentient beings. But what I'm talking about here, and you should do your own research on this, this is a subtle point and you should do your own research, is that what I'm talking about when I'm talking about motivation here is a kind of subtle form of kind of mental, you know, mental effort, kind of motivating mental effort to sort of go out and help the sentient beings. And so, but obviously, at this very subtle level, the Buddha doesn't have this. It doesn't even have even the subtlest form of this kind of what we call kind of underlying kind of slight driving motivation to help. And this is revealed in prayers such as Nagarjuna's some of the prayers from Nagarjuna's Precious Garland, many of the prayers for developing for the prayers related to the Bodhisattvas developing bodhicitta, where it talks about in the sort of general sense about in the future may I never have any difficulties, no difficulties or of any kind in order to be able to perform the welfare of the sentient beings. And there's an analogy which is used like a remote forest, where the forest itself just gives up all of its resources to whatever or whoever may come, and offer, in a sense, kind of offers them freely and openly. So there's no, in that sense, that there's no kind of effort or sense of motivation involved. It's just a kind of natural process that happens. And so that these prayers that may I perfectly perform the welfare of others, and part of that in the Bodhisattva or prayers of bodhicitta is to have none of this very, even the subtlest form of kind of motivating effort in order to do that. And so just as in those examples, the resources or what are given just completely without this kind of motivation, then this is also the condition of the Buddha. So even we can argue, if you were going to argue that the sentient beings don't have motivation, you can also argue that the jewel of the Dharma and also the Buddha don't have motivation, and therefore would also not be worthy of being greatly valued in this quest for enlightenment. And so what we see here is that this kind of the basic thing is this quality of gratitude, of being grateful to the sentient beings as equally as we are grateful to the Buddha in helping us to follow the path. And this comes, and what is that quality that we're talking about? In a sense, the gratitude is kind of based in the quality of, in terms of this relationship which I've talked about in previous classes, a relationship where if a particular thing does not proceed, is not existent, doesn't proceed, then the following particular cause does not proceed, then the result, a particular result related to that can also not arise. And so this is the sorry. And so so if we don't have so in terms of the sentient beings, if we're thinking in terms of the sentient beings, if they are not there, then there will not be a path for me to follow. We will not be able to achieve, the Buddha's body, people like His Holiness, practitioners such as His Holiness, achieving the kayas of the Buddha. If we are to encounter, if we're to encounter the body, the speech, and the mind of being such a great being as His Holiness, this didn't arise without causes. It came from the accumulation over a countless period of time. It arose through the two accumulations of the accumulation of wisdom and the accumulation of merit and a vast array of causes and conditions that it was produced by, and that also was based on a kind of relationship with all, in a sense of relationship with all of the sentient beings, and on the basis of all of the sentient beings, someone like His Holiness became the Buddha. It's not, you can't just take out someone. For instance, you can't say that the Buddha, there was one sentient being. We have to also think that His Holiness would have attained enlightenment on the basis of us, ourselves, because we're one of the sentient beings. It wasn't like he kind of put us aside, focused on all the other sentient beings, and somehow became enlightened. And this is not arrogant talk. This is not a brash kind of arrogant talk. This is the truth. This is the real situation. And so he couldn't have put even ourselves have been the field on which the Buddhas such as this and people like His Holiness attained enlightenment. For instance, in my case, in the future, and I for attaining enlightenment, I can't just put Tea, Italian translator Tea, aside, and every other sentient being on the basis of those I attain enlightenment. It's not possible. If I don't include Tea, then I can't do it. And so what you see is this quality, this equality of having this, this equality is based in that relationship with the cause and effect relationship between, where if one cause doesn't exist and doesn't proceed, then the corresponding result can never arise. And so it's this, in this kind of way, we can talk about the gratitude and the equality between the sentient beings and the Buddhas.
No, 다들이셔 다 솔로 그때다 정하다 주루는 버리셔 잠심 된로 쳐봐가 디네 심진 쳐봐니 상기 되게 수능만 태양 상기 쳐봐니 스타니아 디지골란데서 115 please.
Whatever merit comes from venerating one with a loving mind is due to the eminence of sentient beings. And in the same way, the merit of having faith in Buddha is due to the eminence of Buddha.
다 들으시다 니걸라스 대베 쳐와 다 라노 참매기 미유르베 산지도 고만 임비나스 봐 미유르베 산지도 고만 임비나 아니 심전을 때니 참바다 닝지다 아니 제와 쇠바 진바 라소베 산지도 두지기 유대다 탐지 가안의 종송 세베나 심전을 때니 종송 딜렌데베지 아니 산지를 때니 가르도변스나 아니 산지기 최 답변아 두기 산지 전주심 아니 동반이게 나와 아니 하버도 다야 지금 또 주도 민지고 시다 아니 되네 지금 가서 그래 말하죠 세상 무슨 주장인데 배제 대주라 소비 산지기 연된다 탐지 아니 말하죠 미율의 샤지 두야 돼서 뭐뭐 컨텐츠 총선스도 야 산지기 신디다 딜텐지 야 앞에 좀송슬라야 디엔주 잠베 니갈 때니 산지기 고반디 드세임버디 직부 지견하셨어 다 참심이된 쳐봐가 디네 심진 쳐와 전주 참심스도 심진 때니 아니 산지기 쳐와 직두배도 산지기 연된 두배도 야 산지 코란 때니 산지기 연된 두배도 들으셨다.
And so actually what I'll do is I was going to read verses 115 and 116, but I'll deal with verse 115 on its own first of all. In terms of this, the first two lines where it says, whatever merit comes from venerating one with a loving mind is due to the eminence of sentient beings. And so here our aim, our focal aim, is the fully enlightened state of Buddhahood, and in order to achieve that, in relation to sentient beings, there are tremendous variety of practices which act as causes in order to attain that desired state. Are because of immeasurable compassion, immeasurable love, the kind of practices such as the four immeasurables in generosity, ethical discipline, the practice of the so forth, the practice of the six perfections. These are all practiced in relation to sentient beings. Now, in terms of the Buddha, and the one who taught the Dharma, who taught the Dharma of the essentially the essential Dharma of the awakening mind, bodhicitta, and also the wisdom, the understanding of emptiness, and also the one who possesses the qualities such as the 10 powers, the four fearlessnesses, who possesses the 32 minor and 80, 32 major and 80 minor marks of the Buddha. And so we can, in relation to the Buddha, we really see how the Buddha there would be the field, again, the field of kind of almost like inspiration, and on the basis of which we attain the enlightened and state. But you can say that the attainment of the fully enlightened state, in terms of based on both of them, it's the same. They're both the basis for attaining enlightened state. And then it says in the same way, the merit of having faith in the Buddha is due to the eminence of the Buddha in the second, the last two lines of. So you can see the similarity on the basis of both. We are able to attain our goal, which is the fully enlightened state.
No, 다들이 들으시다. 다 산지 추루 차여가 되네 대다 냠버도. 연된자로 타예베 산지 남장 가면 다 get 추루. 116 please.
Therefore, they are asserted to be equal in the share they have in establishing Buddha qualities. Yet none of them are equal in good qualities, but the Buddha who are boundless oceans of excellence.
다 최선 디나로야 산지 추루 차여. 산지를 산지기 연된다 찬라가지고 걸 여장 아주 심전당 산지니디 아니 말아줘 초사서 신임을 냠버레스 지제 송구요래 이나야 시골에서 자원이 있어요 말레스 더디어 제고 땅 걸와 요즘에 산지리아 아니 지가 소래 자치베다 돈의 견데 스타베 돈의 견데 또 도르드나 산지기 아니 견데도 정아서 다 남셔전도 점주 시급이야 산지기 아니 지기 구성토 견데도 양양도 하면서 전혀 계시므로도 와 말하는 다디 섬로 요마코나 아니 산지에서 준비니 지기 다 지기 가서래 녀모방벌에 해야지다. 녀모방내 믹스에 가르쳐줘요. 무슨 상담이요 말봐. 녀모방비게 차와 될라든지 대단 되지 된요. 시디방벌 될라든네 디단 되요 된요. 껴방비 연대 상계세 치고라 나로. 상 껴의 파상 가르게 버렸어요. 시제 연대 개버렸어. 어디 상부터 내가 땅고 그죠. 디마토나 다들이 렌람상 잡토마. 네 거딘 첨부를 샷을 정말 지번냠도 땅 냠도 거딘 첨부를 샷해야지. chana besarwa ko yondeng chane sanje chidang zo sanje le ya chuba pyu gang ya gang le pyu chita ani chi lama le ya pyu de chimbe gang le pyu chi ni chi go ro na ha jo da zo semjen le jiba dang be gang le sha ji ni chi yo ma de ne sem ding ne ba ta ye bu chi yo ro de zo che je de zo ya ne yang do ha ko ye che do ani sanje gi yondeng yang ne yang do temper che de zo ke chi kum res yondeng je zo ta ye ba yondeng 사바다 대치비 연된 때변하다 상기기 연된 라나메바디 군주부터는 직체 된다부터는 직체 상당해도 또 군주부터는 심진그 대 제단데 알아는 좋다 알아도 롤 추구요 맞다 상기기 틀레서 해야 되는 거죠 대시 잡을 연주 선배 알아도 순대지리네 상기기 틀레 뭐주고 미스니 찍메서요 다디 샤바 자주 선바 탕말을 요 말에 아니 하와도 년도랑 제래 요 말에 아니 샤바줄 요 말, 틀레 죽어야 돼. 다 틀레 죽어야 돼. 상계 고랑이 연대. 배 등아주 봐서나다. 알아도 상계 틀레 죽으면서 제제 배전 로이네. 다르다 요 말다. 어떤데 그 상계 내가 요. 데르도와. 어떤데 그 상무 땅 거고 봐. 제가 되게 군족도 다 된다고 전에 제배네 랑든 용수 조비 추구세 들이 근데 아주 가서 그래 춘이니 셈파 이어버디 미시브를 지르다 이모 미시비 시제 차
Okay, didn't say the
상기기 셈 춘이리 파 이어왔어 춘이리 이어 춘이네 당와
right.
오케이 셈 춘이리 때지도 냐버 샤샤버지 또 춘이리 이어와요 춘이리 이어나 가르쳐서나 추구세에 냠도요. 와, 랑도 추구세에 냠도와. 세상의 추구네 읽는 마당 바로 아니 심진의 텐시 통인데 상계만도 시기네 봐. 동반인데 제지도 냠버를 샤시고 가네. 냠샤이시 제도시 지버를 세고 상계서 깨제 되려 봐. 들으셨다? 어디 인도 담배 도 삼았다 되는데 아니 상계의 심진이 연된다 냠사요 말이지. 이나야 거진 유권에 냠바지 깨지 땡땡시에도 세다 들으셔. dom로데. 나들어도 들으셔. 안디 슈고리야. 다들 데스도 안디가도 슈마사라고 한두지.
So in relation to verse 116 and the first two lines, particularly of 116 here, where it says that therefore they are asserted to be equal in the share they have in establishing Buddhist qualities. So it's a very specific way of talking about it. So they have, that's how it's sort of put. There is a share in establishing the Buddha's qualities in the sense of that gratitude that we have, the equality, the kind of similitude, similarity of the gratitude we have to them in order for, the sentient beings, in order for us, between the Buddhas and the sentient beings, in order for us to accumulate the merit which drives us forward on the path which leads to the fully enlightened state. But we can't talk about a very specific sort of delineation that's going on here. They have that, because it says here, the share in establishing the Buddhist qualities, but they don't have the same qualities. The Buddhist qualities are vast and profound, and this actually it draws in a very important point about for ourselves when we're thinking of, when we're practicing refuge, when we're contemplating refuge, that it's very important that we remind ourselves of the qualities of the body, the speech, and the mind. When we're thinking in terms of the refuge, in terms of the Buddha, then we have to think about, of all the refuges, but in this specific case, the refuge of the Buddha, we have to think about the qualities, and you can sort of boil that down when we break apart the in Tibetan the word sangye, sang meaning to is the quality of removing the kind of the things to be abandoned, and so it's the quality of the quality of the quality of the abandonment of things which need to be abandoned, and then ge is the kind of expansion of of the qualities of realization. So in that you have these what is often in that sort of etymology of the word sangye as used in the Tibetan, you have this sense of the two sides of the quality of abandonment and the quality of development of realization, and so when we that's how we have to remember, constantly remember those qualities when taking refuge, and of course we have there's a that's the reason, because of these qualities, why when we're making offerings or practicing devotion in relation to, say, the Buddhas, it's on a kind of a higher level. We place things on a higher level, and perhaps with sentient beings is a sort of equal, or kind of equal level with ourselves. But that is not to say even that the gratitude is still the same here. This is what we're talking about, the gratitude for them being a share of the us establishing the Buddha qualities in ourselves. And so we should still always, even if we have this kind of way of offering up to the Buddhas and sort of equally to the sentient beings, then still there should be a feeling deep in our heart of that gratitude. And so, the Buddhas have these profound, vast, incomparable qualities, and so we can't, and also, there's another factor to remember is the enlightened activities of the Buddha, the tinni, the enlightened activities of the Buddha. And we say that there's no sentient being that has ever been unaffected or uninfluenced by the activities, unconnected with the activities of the Buddha. You can't actually get away from the activities of Buddha. You can't sort of try and go into deepest Tibet or something and try to get away. It's said that the Buddha's activities being vast and profound, and there are no sentient beings who haven't been affected by the enlightened qualities of the Buddha. So, of course, at this level, the Buddhas have these incredible qualities in relation to the sentient beings, and also, the way in the Dharmakaya of the Buddhas, how they are, which is the kind of culmination of the completion of the sort of concern of what we call the self-welfare or self-concern, and that mind which has the ability. So we say that in the Buddha state there is no the meditative equipoise. The meditative equipoise and the post-meditative equipoise is basically the same thing, and there's no way that the Buddha's mind can move out of the direct meditative stray from, or move out from the direct meditative equipoise on emptiness. If it were to do that, then the Dharmakaya itself would degenerate. And so all of these qualities are qualities that the Buddha embodies, and which is, of course, the sentient beings don't have. So we're not talking at that. So we very specifically delineate the fact that the gratitude, the equality of the gratitude for the sentient beings and the Buddha is as it says in the second line, in the share they have in establishing the Buddha qualities, and that's how we see the Buddhas and the sentient beings as being equal.
Now let's do the dedication. Ready?
Yes, Rinpoche. Having thoroughly investigated in accord with all that I've heard, day and night through the four reasonings, mind born of reflection on these topics of contemplation, may this discernment sever all doubts. In the land encircled by snowy mountains, you're the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma. By completing the qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the hero Manjushri who knows reality, and just like Samantabhadra as well. I fully dedicate all my roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the gone beyond victorious ones of the 3 times in order to have good conduct. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And see you next Wednesday.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Rinpoche.
Thank you,
Grazie,
Rinpoche. See you
Tea.
soon.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Grazie.
Ciao, grazie.